I suppose it is, because but it was, the shyness was mixed with the burning ambition, and that sort of meant I actually didn't do anything about the burning ambition because I was too shy, but I still had this burning ambition. Eventually I managed to, just through sheer sort of courage, I suppose, I'd phoned up the Comedy Store and I heard you could go on late at night and do 5 minutes, and so that's what I did. And that first step onto a stage, and when I went there, I was expecting like a theatre with proper seats and stuff, and it was like a bear pit. It was a room full of tables with beers on the table. It was a late-night drinking club that also had comedy really going on. So getting through that first step was an enormous step to take, and I still remember that sort of step onto the stage. It was like stepping out of an aeroplane. You know, it felt, you know, you had to trust that the parachute was working, or that you hadn't packed it yourself, you know, and you didn't know if you had a parachute on either. So you're just trying out to see what would happen. But I knew that if I didn't try, if I really didn't give it a go, then that would be the most depressing thing of all. I'd go back to the civil service, and I would have always been the person in my mind that never had the nerve to even fail.
You've also, I mean, now you've come to the point in your life where you've actually embraced all of showbiz. I mean, the ultimate is when you do pantomime.
Yes.
And only icons do pantomime.
Yes.
And you did pantomime this year for the first time, didn't you?
Yes, we did it. We did the ITV pantomime. They wanted me to be an ugly sister, and I said, well, let's have Ronnie Corbett as the other ugly sister and make us identical, and that nobody can tell us apart. So it didn't really happen in the finished script, but the idea was that people would come on and say, well, which one are you? Or we look alike. You couldn't tell the difference. There was all that going on, but it is I mean, to do it like that, to do it as a one-off and playing drag and stuff. There's a good story about, there was an old music hall act called Old Mother Riley, a guy called Arthur Lucan, who...
Wonderful. Kitty McShane.
Kitty McShane
Daughter
as well.
Kitty.
Exactly.
Yes. There you go.
You've changed the tune.
No, I just...
But he was sort of, I don't know if this story is true or not, but apparently he was in a pantomime in the mid-50s, and he was playing Old Mother Riley and playing the pantomime Dave. And there was a terrible, you know, there was a terrible commotion in the dressing room at the interval, and he had a heart attack, he had a fatal heart attack, and died. And they're going, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to... The manager was called. The manager, what's the matter? Old Mother Riley. Oh, my God, what are we going to do? He thought, well, I've got to go and tell the audience. I'll have to tell the audience that nobody could replace him because there was no understudy. So he goes out to the interval and he walks out in front of the curtains and he says to the audience, he says, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I've got some very bad news. I'm afraid Old Mother Riley has just died. And the audience went, oh, no, she hasn't. I heard a good story the other day.
That ought to be true.
It should be true. It should be true. I heard a good David Bowie story the other day. He was playing a working man's club. You know when he used to do Ziggy Stardust, and he used to have all the makeup on and the sort of thigh-length boots and the hot pants and all that sort of stuff. Early 70s, and he was doing a warm-up gig in a working man's club somewhere. And I don't know why he was doing this, but he was. And he was backstage, he was about to go on with his band, and he suddenly realised he wants to go to the loo, and there's the manager of the club walking around, you know? And David Bowie said, oh, excuse me, where's the loo? And the bloke looks at him and he says, there, down there, there's the loo, down there. And he points down this corridor and there's this dirty old sink at the end, you know. He said, that's your loo there. All brown and horrible, you know, really terrible. When David Bowie said, excuse me, he said, I'm not using that. You know who I am? I'm not using that. And he says, listen, son, he said, if it's good enough for Shirley Bassey, it's good enough for you.
I want it to be true, you see. I want it to be true, all of them.
I mean, I don't know. It probably isn't, but...
It doesn't matter. It's not.
It probably wasn't good enough for Shirley Bassey. She brings her own bucket. She's a big star.
Ming Line. Yeah.